Hey everybody, thanks for joining the Rock and Metal Guardian today. Hope you're doing well wherever you may find yourselves. I'm Dane, your host. Today's episode is about albums that changed my life. Now, before we jump right in, there is no order here with the exception of the very first one I'm going to show you. This is the most significant one that's changed my life because this is the album, when I got it, that veered me away into liking pop music the most to liking rock music or hard rock music the most. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So at an early age, I'm in third grade, I'm 9 years old, Kiss Alive. My mom got this for me for Christmas, and I could not have been more ecstatic. And this is one of my favorite albums of all time, regardless of whether it's studio or live. And ever since I got this, at a young age for Christmas, as I said, my mom, for the longest time, would get a Kiss album for me when it came out, when it was new. And I'd come over from school, and there it would be on my pillow waiting for me. How cool is that, right? So Kiss Alive. Now the rest have no order. The next one is, because Kiss Alive led me to this, and the rest is history. My grandfather bought me a copy of that. The next is Boston's debut. This one never gets old. I love Desolation Boulevard. This is the British version, but this is not the version that got me into Sweet. It was actually the American version, which is more of a greatest hits. This is I think a tad bit better. I like both, but this has got some great songs on it that are not on the American version. You should start here if you're not familiar with Sweet. And then this one, or the American version, as I said, led me to this. So if you look at both of these, if you count this one, if you count this one as the American version for a minute, forget that it's the British. The songs on here that make it a greatest hits, right? Most of them come from, or some of them come from, an earlier album called Sweet Fanny Adams. So you get the song Sweet Fanny Adams, or Sweet FA as it's abbreviated. No You Don't, and some other songs have that. Fox on the Run. There's some great hard rockin' tunes on the American version of Desolation Boulevard. Not all, a lot of it's pop oriented, but anyway, this is a more heavier approach that they took with songs like Cockroach, Keep It In, Action, of course, and the fabulous Yesterday's Rain, and even Healer. So these are fabulous. Here, talk about coming home from school, as I said, and having something on my pillow for Mom. Another example of that. Not everything, but this one definitely made its way. Because I remember commenting about it when I heard on the radio, and my mom already had this on vinyl. Come home from school, and this was on my pillow, a copy for me, because of the song "Do Ya," great song, which I think was originally a song from The Move. Next, you would think it would be Leftoverture from Kansas. It's this one. This is Kansas at its best, I think. This is to Kansas what Kiss Alive is to Kiss in many regards. The guitar playing on here is just phenomenal. This is a heavy record for Kansas. Great prog rock, great heaviness. There's a lot going on here. Steve Walsh is in his prime still. Fabulous. Aerosmith's magnum opus rocks. What can you say about songs like Back in the Saddle, Last Child, Rats in the Cellar, Nobody's Fault, Get the Let Out, Lickin' a Promise, Home Tonight, just great. One of the first albums I ever listened to in my entire life, Black Sabbath's Paranoid, very young age. Speaking of that, Led Zeppelin 2, which led me to Led Zeppelin 4, which led me to this. Song remains the same. This is the original version. I'm not going with the extra tracks version because this is the one that influenced me to love Led Zeppelin. And we would this is all we would talk about. Well, Led Zeppelin was all we would talk about in high school, and of course this CD and the movie. And of course, that led me to their magnum opus, in my opinion, Physical Graffiti. I got this for Christmas when I was 18 from my sister and her boyfriend at the time. Very, very, very powerful album. Just love it. This is what got me into Blue Oyster Cult. This and Fire of Unknown Origin. But I heard this one first. This is just amazing. One of the best albums from start to finish. There's a video, right? Top 20 albums that are great from start to finish. A lot of these here So maybe I don't need that video. Dio's Holy Diver. I got this in high school. By the time you're done with this album, you're like worn out. It's that good. And it worn out in a great way. Anyway. Next, I was kind of late to this, but I'm still in high school. I'm 16. So Deep Purple in rock. You got Child in Time. Thanks to a friend of mine. He said, oh, you got to listen to this. This is just fabulous. Get some heavy rock and stuff like Speed King, Bloodsucker, Child in Time. Oh, Bloodsucker's fabulous. This whole album's fabulous. I don't know why I waited so long. 16 and kind of late to the game, right? Anyway. Can't go wrong with Demons and Wizards. Young age. I grew up listening to the radio because my mom and dad always had music on in the house at some point during the day, especially in the morning on my way to school. First thing my mom would do would get up, wake us up, put her coffee on, get dressed, all that. And then she'd put the radio on because I was like one of the first people finished to get ready to go to school because I love school. Hello, teacher, right? I'm a teacher. And so I'd just wait on the sofa and listen to the radio. And then we listen to the radio on the way to school, which wasn't far. Always hearing Bowie on the radio. So this is where I started. And of course, that led me to this album. These are two of my favorite Bowie albums. And speaking of which, I mentioned I got Physical Graffiti as a Christmas gift. My sister and her boyfriend at the time gave me Physical Graffiti, and I remember this like it was yesterday. Of course, we're talking about vinyl, so it's, this is in the 80s. I gave her boyfriend at the time this, and he was like so ecstatic. He's like, oh, this is so cool. That's a great present. Thank you. So, and that made me want to buy this because I hadn't heard this one. I knew a couple songs, right, but I hadn't heard the whole album. And one of the only punk bands I like. Their debut was just fabulous. And then my sister had this one. So I got to get this. So this is fabulous too. Different, but fabulous. And my mom got this for me because she wanted off the radio, calling in to be the X number of caller, right? That kind of thing. Pink Floyd's The Wall, which led me to my favorite. Okay. Next. Kind of late to the game, but the 90s. This is so influential on me. This used to be one of my top 10 or top 15, top 20 favorite groups of all time. And if you've seen my video for my top 10 bands of all time, my favorite, this is not on the list. They've dropped, but I still love them to death. So the Black Crowes debut is phenomenal. Well, the first song I heard by this next band was a single on the radio, and it's called We're an American Band. It was released as a 45 on gold vinyl, and that led me to this, which led me to this monster. My sister's boyfriend at the time, who gave me a copy, well, her and her boyfriend gave me a copy of Physical Graffiti for Christmas, had this on vinyl, and I remember like it was yesterday. If we pull this out, this is my favorite Yes album. He was talking about how if you look carefully at the photograph, it's too tiny, but if you look, there seems to be like a blurry image there above someone's head against it. It's like this was a photograph that they took the old drummer out and put the new drummer in. Who knows? But I remember that conversation. It's kind of cool. Anyway. King Crimson's Lark's Tongues and Aspic. And how can we forget Speak of the Devil? My mom would not let me buy this, so I had to listen to my friends all the time. She did not like the album cover, though she did like Ozzy, but she wouldn't let me have this album cover. All right. And first Judas Priest album I ever listened to. Album Hour. Going to bed because I got school in the morning, but my mom would let me listen to Album Hour on headphones to let me fall asleep. This is my first taste of Judas Priest, which led me to this. Sad Wings of Destiny. Queen, Sheer Heart Attack. Great album from start to finish. Well, with the exception of Bring Back Leroy Brown. It's great because all the songs flow into each other. The debut from Metallica. Need I say more? Which led me to this. The first time I heard this, I did not hear it in the order in which the tracks appear. A friend of mine came to pick me up. We're going out, and he had already had it on in the car. So he pulls up, I get in, and he's got Welcome Home Sanitarium on, and I'm like, who is that? Because I didn't recognize the voice. He's like, dude, that's Metallica's new album. I was like, okay. James Hetfield singing much differently on that song than what he does on the first album, right? So this next one, I've always seen this one as a young man. I will always go into the mall here in town, and the record store, of course, doesn't exist anymore. It was called Smith's Records in Lakeside Mall, and I will always go in, especially during Mardi Gras, and just look at the vinyl that they had, and I would always see this. Never gave it a second glance, really. I would look at it and be like, who's this? I didn't ask the clerk or anything. And then lo and behold, many years later, I'm 18. I just graduated from high school. My friends and I go out for a little while, and Rock Bottom comes on the jukebox. I'm like, holy moly, who is this? And of course, did my research, and then I ended up getting this on vinyl, one of my favorite UFO CDs of all time. Here's a high school album, Rising Force, part of my musical DNA. This next one, I'm just starting college, I believe, in this band I've never heard of. And a friend of mine, or rather a co-worker, says, oh, you've never heard of them? You got to try it. Talking about Mott the Hoople. This is their magnum opus, in my humble opinion. Mott is the name of the album. Slide it in from Whitesnake. Burn, which led me to Stormbringer. Canada's second finest trio, their magnum opus, Allied Forces. There's just something so powerful about Magic Power, Allied Forces, and Fight the Good Fight, and Ordinary Man, and Say Goodbyes. This whole thing's good, but Say Goodbye is great too. This album is fabulous. Need I say more? First Rush album I ever heard, Moving Pictures, which led me to explore this. I'm sorry, was that too fast? Farewell to Kings. And then perhaps prog rock's finest, 2112. Actually, Farewell to Kings is my favorite Rush album, maybe prog's finest. Junior or senior in high school, Cirith Ungol, Frost and Fire. First Motorhead album I ever heard, Ace of Spades. Magnum opus, if you ask me. And this next one is the album that got me into jazz. This is the deluxe. This is Bitches Brew from Miles Davis. This was the one that got me into jazz. And finally, I have one honorable mention. This is not the honorable mention. This is the last one. Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. This is the deluxe box set. And then one honorable mention is just an EP, but maybe collect everything from them or most of everything. And I'm talking about the EP Broken from Nine Inch Nails. So please post in the comments below some of your favorite albums that are part of your musical DNA or the albums that changed your life. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Listen to some music.